In this Star Wars Battlefront 2 video, I will be sharing with you some new details on content that was planned and worked on for the game, but was ultimately cancelled. This is coming from a former DICE developer who shared some information as to what their future plans were for Battlefront 2. These ideas include a Order 66 style mode, why Coruscant never came, and more. Before we do get into today's video though, make sure you do subscribe to this channel so you won't miss any future videos from me. And I also wanted to give a quick shout out to the mod that I'm showing you in this gameplay here. It's called Christmas Front 2023. It's from a collection of modders such as Chef DeLorean, and there are just so many people that contributed to this mod. And I thought because of this time of year, just before Christmas, it only seems right to include this as the background gameplay. So if you are interested in this mod, go check it out. And it's definitely worth playing if you are interested in playing Christmas within Battlefront 2. Also, this video gives me a quick opportunity to talk about Unlimited Power, the limited time and mode that should have been happening on January 1st, 2024 for this game, but unfortunately it won't be. I've had a bunch of comments asking me, will it work? Well, January 1st, 2024 is a Monday, and every Monday in Battlefront 2, the fast spawn event happens. Typically, if there is an event on a day that Unlimited Power is scheduled to happen, it's overridden, so Unlimited Power just won't happen. It's only happened in previous years when one of the developers at DICE has been willing to help us out and fixed it on May 4th, but no one's going to be in the office because it's New Year's Day. However, January 1st, 2025 is a Tuesday, and nothing happens on a Tuesday, so it should work. So now let's get into the comments regarding future content that was worked on for Battlefront 2. This is coming from a former DICE developer who specifically was a live service producer on the game, who goes under the username on Reddit called Max Shelgi, and they have basically given us a lot of insight over the past few years since live service ended, some of the reasons behind some of the decisions they made for the game. So most recently, they put out a comment talking about what I think some people will say is an Order 66 mode. So for a bit of context, this came about through a game jam, and if you don't know what that is, basically game studios give their developers a few days per year to just work on anything they like, and some of these ideas can end up becoming part of the main game as future content. It's just an idea that they get the ball rolling and then they can start developing it into an actual product rather than just something that's sort of hacked together. It's unoptimized, things like that. This is actually how droidekas transforming as well as dual-wielding pistols came about. Dennis confirmed this on his takeover of the DICE Twitter account at the end of 2018. Some members of the team made a survival map on Kashyyyk. It had 4 generic Jedi, each with 1 Jedi power and a lightsaber. And then they had waves of AI troopers spawning, trying to get the Jedi. You started on the coastline, and then you needed to get extracted inside the Venator. They say it had a Left 4 Dead vibe, and was fun if somewhat janky. This was all done within 3 days by a small part of the DICE team. It was hacked together, and it never actually made its way into the main development side of Battlefront 2, so pretty much none of it exists. At a different hackathon that they had, they did get something similar working on Felucia, but it was very different to the one on Kashyyyk. When asked if development could start up again for Battlefront 2 or what the plans for monetization would have been later on if they continued, this developer said on Reddit a couple of weeks ago that it would be hard-pressed to be done right now to continue Battlefront 2. Most of the team have got up and left after it ended. In terms of if they continued, he said, I think we would need a lot bigger of a team if we had continued on. We started getting close to our size limit on PlayStation, and we were entering the new world of crossplay and next-gen upgrades. A major overhaul and rebuild would be needed, along with a plan on how to make money that is not microtransaction oriented. Battlefront was not an always-on game, like a Battle Pass game. It was for us core players, but for the most part, DICE had the data where people would just not play all the time and would come back. The developer goes on to say, but Battlefront was a game that you return to between other games, a comfort game. We would need something like an expansion pack method with maps, modes and characters, so people kept coming back after 6 months and they could get a solid dose of new stuff in a familiar setting. So yeah, they've been moving away from monthly free content updates into paid content updates, much like Battlefront 2015, where every 3 months we got a big substantial DLC. They'll be looking for something bigger every 6 months, but again, they needed a bigger team and would have hoped to have made it for the new gen consoles with a bigger team. Now on to why Coruscant never came to Star Wars Battlefront 2. So a couple of years ago, there was this leak that was getting spread around, and it was clearly fake and debunked fairly quickly, but a lot of people assumed it was real. Well, this DICE developer responded to that saying, no, it wasn't from DICE, we never wanted to make Coruscant, at least not on the platforms we were running on, so Xbox One and PS4. The PC could have handled it, but the Xbox One and PS4, it just wasn't to be. Someone replied saying, why not? You just had other priorities, or were the technical requirements too great? And the developer says that lots of stuff happening in the background, too much memory usage, and too much work making it look real from every place on the map. We had issues with Bespin for this reason already. PS4 and Xbox One were just underpowered consoles. There just was not much memory for what they wanted to do. Whereas, say, Jedi Survivor, which did an incredible looking Coruscant, it's only available on the current gen systems at this moment in time, and it really utilises all of that extra RAM to get it looking as good as it does. Some additional details on Coruscant was also shared by this developer a couple of months ago, but no one seemed to have picked up on it. In regards to Felucia, that was yet another game jam pitch. Some new tech for the game was being made, and they liked the idea so much that they decided to go for Felucia. For a dev team to work together, especially one that small on Battlefront 2, we needed people to have passion for what they make. No one wanted to make Coruscant. It was backdrop and memory issues galore. Mustafar was always in the backlog, but that was a hero showdown map only, probably also heroes versus villains as well. So from a value perspective of, we make one map every 6 months, what use do we get out of it? It just didn't make much sense, and I agree. Even though people love heroes versus villains, it just was not as big of a mode compared to Supremacy. It's a big mode, but Supremacy is where the player count was by far. The majority have always played that. Now it's sort of shifted a bit because it requires a lot less players to start a game. Onto something that's a little bit different, and this was regarding rank. So someone asked, any idea why DICE didn't increase the player max count as well as the character max rank? Or was it just forgotten about? And this developer did say that it was a different system, and the player rank is a mix of different systems pouring in XP into a big bucket. The rank itself is math on this bucket, while character is a single source of flow, so we could easily see how it is scaled. The player rank got a lot of work put into it right after launch. I think it was the cornerstone of how they made the new progression, so it ties into a lot of systems as well. Very risky change, as testing would be limited and edge cases could be plentiful. Yeah, we heard this story a lot when it would come down to certain things like data progression, server-side issues. They had to be really thorough, and things took a long time. People complained, but at the end of the day, it was a small team dealing with terabytes of data, all of this progression of millions of players, and the player rank, no one really cared for it. It was all about the characters, because they made the characters worthwhile caring about. Not just heroes and villains, but also the vehicles and the classes and reinforcements. Speaking of these ranks, a year ago, this developer actually did say on Reddit that they wanted to have the 1,000 level ranks to be different colours, so blue for another 1,000 levels, then green, etc. But the amount of work was too much at that late stage in development. Levels don't count as currency, no cash in mechanics, the level bar did not have colour options, things like that. Upping the levels from 40 to 1,000 was the best we could do before we got shut down. So I know some people have said, look, we need more levels, things like that, but they explained why. They were going to have different colour options and more than 1,000 ranks, but that's, with the limited resources they had at their disposal, what they were able to do. On to credits now, and this is something really fun. Matt says that the max amount of credits you can earn this game before it stops counting is over 2.1 billion, which is crazy. So he said we actually had someone max it out. It was, I think, 9.9 million, so basically 10 million, and that's the reason why they upped it. We were playing around with max level and found out it goes up to the 32-bit integer, but the icon for level only fits 3 characters. But we also found that out of the box, it supports characters. So I asked if max would fit, and it did. So that's why the character limit is 1,000, essentially. So it is a level 1,000, it just doesn't say that, it says max because they couldn't have more than 4 characters. They are limited to just 3, so they type max, and that made sense. This led them on to looking at the credits and how it was filling a similar bucket to level, and we had to look at what the max could be. It fit the whole integer, so we changed the limit to 0. We are not sure how your account will fit if you hit the limit, but I look forward to learning. So one day, someone will probably get to this absolute maximum, and it'll be interesting to see what happens then, and even the developers don't know what's going to happen. They're just here for the ride for when someone does inevitably hit that massive number, and it'll be interesting to see what does happen. I'd love to hear your thoughts on anything I've talked about in this video. What was the most interesting part of all of these details? And you can also check out the Christmas Front mod by using the download link in the description below. And if you enjoyed this video, please do drop a like. Subscribe so you don't miss any future videos from me. And if you did miss any of my previous videos, click on the playlist on the screen right now. And I shall see you in my next video. Goodbye.